You're live.
All right, good morning, everybody. And it is May 28, 2020. And this is the Board of County Commissioners workshop. And this next hour, or shortly, short after, under an hour, we're going to be talking about budget. And a decision is needed on the budget. By way of introductions, I'm John Hutchings, the chair of the board. And we also have Vice Chair Commissioner Ty Menser and Commissioner Gary Edwards. I see his hat, but I must, oh, there he is, okay. And we have County Manager Renzo Chavez and Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Elizabeth Petrich. And Robin, will you introduce your band of renown, please?
We are joined by the budget team today, Denise Doty, Patty Risotto, and Olivia Odman.
Good, thank you. All right, and we're off and running, Romero. Are you gonna take this or Robin?
Yeah, I think we're gonna tag team. Let me frame the couple items that I have for you. First of all, I'd like to bring to your attention the letter that you received from County Prosecutor John Thunheim. And that is, I hope you had the opportunity to review that. Attached to that letter, in your packet is a copy of an RCW 3616-070, and it's also a copy of MRSC analysis. I'm not planning to walk you through this. This is just to give you context as to the authority the Board of County Commissioner has to create and eliminate positions on departments as well as elected offices. And again, I'm not here to walk you through what is stated in here, but I think it will be important for you to have that context in which the authority the Board of County Commissioners have. And it is very prescriptive, particularly on the document the MRC has provided, because that question not necessarily is asked on John Thunheim's letter, but perhaps that has been raised others in the county. What is the authority perhaps the county commissioners have to create or eliminate positions? And this will give you the context, at least from my point of view. And also the second part of your packet is an email that Robin Campbell sent to all the offices and departments related to the decisions that you made last Friday. And just to recap those decisions, one was to suspend the payments from the ERNR through this year, which is a reduction in the general fund contribution by $300,000. Also, you made the decision to do some adjustments on the treatment sales tax. And also, you use the proviso that you have for the special election that it was scheduled for April 28th on the courthouse. That did not occur, and that was $177,500. You also put a hiring freeze to all positions that are currently vacant, where you excluded and provided exceptions for positions that are within the 24/7 offices. That will be juvenile detention, sheriff's office, corrections, and coroner, as well as public health and social services. And with the intent of those positions be eliminated from the budget in order for you to capitalize at least on the savings of that. Also, you made a determination that any positions that may become vacant after Friday, it will be somewhat of a 90-day waiting period until you see each office and department will have the opportunity to determine the need of those positions before they can backfill those again. And also, you excluded from that action the 24/7 offices. Again, those are the juvenile detention, sheriff's office, corrections, and coroner, as well as the public health and social services. And I'm gonna go back to those two items, and that is I believe, some of the items the Prosecutor Thunheim raised to you on that letter related to vacant positions. And also, you made a determination to reduce the non-departmental general fund by 482,000. And lastly, but not least, you ask for all the offices and departments to go through and implement 2% reduction on the 2020 allocation, budget allocations. And what it does is this email includes a few attachments, because as you know, this attachment, one, and I'm gonna flag this, it has the positions that the report of the positions, vacant positions, you have seen that on Friday. But also the next document, which is labeled budget and FTEs by department, established 2% targets for each office and departments as well, accepting some of the key funds, because some funds may not be able to implement that 2% cut. And that is probably important to understand, because you may not be able to reduce the 2%, some of the funds that actually creates revenue, and we are required to pay some debt associated with that. So that has been a little more strategic as to how we have been asking the offices and departments to implement that 2%. I just want to bring back this to your attention. And again, Robin sent that email a couple of days ago, and the due date to submit that 2% budget reductions is Friday, June 12, 2020. So going back to the vacant positions, and mainly attempting to address some of the concerns that John Twinheim related on his letter to you, is related to the vacant positions. In his letter, he stated that perhaps, in his words, not mine, that he was in a way penalized because he has already started implementing some salary savings by not hiring those positions, knowing that perhaps the financial situation of the county was going to be affected as a result of the COVID-19 emergency. So in his letter, he states the fact that perhaps he has been penalized by eliminating those vacant positions because he was already taking some strategies or implemented some strategies to address the budget shortfall. Also, I have been received many feedbacks in terms of the hiring freeze and the elimination of those vacant positions. They may start affecting the delivery of the services to county citizens. So I'd like to propose something for your consideration, and hopefully we can achieve the same objective. I believe the objective of the board is to continue to find budget reductions, and that has to be paramount, in my opinion, to continue for you to have that objective, because we ought to go through that budget reduction. So the proposal that I have, and I have been in conversations with Robert Campbell on this particular proposal, that is, if there's any office and department, and they can make an argument as to what those positions that are currently are scheduled to be eliminated because they're vacant. If they can make a logical argument as to why they're so essential to keep those positions in place, then we'll probably give an option to those offices and departments to come with a plan. They can achieve the same level of reductions associated with those vacant positions. So I'm going to use one example, and that example doesn't apply to anybody in the office. This is an example to illustrate the proposal. Let's assume under the list of the positions that are currently on a hiring freeze, they will be eliminated. If that position is on Department X, and the action of eliminating that position results in a $50,000 savings on the general fund. That's the objective, $50,000 savings. or reduction in expenditures. The proposal will be to ask Department X to come up with a parallel process. They can say, okay, that position is so important for our operations that I can offer this type of reduction of 50,000 through other means. So in a way, I think we achieve the same objective. It will give offices and departments the latitude to come up with an alternative plan. They can strategically determine what positions are essential, and each office and department affected by the hiring freeze and elimination of those positions can come up with an alternate plan to achieve the same objective in terms of the savings. And this approach that I'm proposing is above and beyond the 2% that you have already requested to the offices and departments. That is the proposal that I have for you today. And I think from I believe having a conversation with Robin, it creates a little more flexibility. The board achieves the same objective in reduction in expenditures, and give the opportunity for those offices and departments to come up with an alternate reduction to achieve, again, the same benefits of budget reductions. Would you like to add anything on that, Robin?
No, I think you captured it quite well.
I look forward to this discussion then, because after reading Prosecuting Attorney John Thunheim's letter, it was very thoughtful, and it gave me pause. And so the issues that I've had apparently have or are being addressed, and that is the MRSC issue. Do we have the authority to do that? Respecting the autonomy of an elected official and the responsibility for their own office. I always like to look at alternatives and make decisions in an open and fair way. But it does open the door, perhaps, to numerous interpretations or lobbying of the commission, where this may not. But I always had that eye for that as well, because I want to be able to achieve the mission that we set out to do, which is budget reduction and budget relief. But at the same time, respecting the autonomy of individually elected office officials. So this is very good, and I'm glad you brought this to us today. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Ty?
Question. There keeps being reference to MRSC article or something. I don't see that, don't have it. I'm not sure. I can guess what you're talking about because I can understand that issue.
Yeah, you have it on your packet, Commissioner, this morning?
Attached to Thunheim's letter.
Behind the Prosecutor Thunheim's letter?
Okay. I had already printed that letter, so I didn't probably look at the new copy.
No, we'll give you a copy of the packet for this morning's agenda.
Okay, and that basically says that we have, and this relates, I'm imagining, to his contention that we're going beyond our authority.
Right, and you have an analysis from MRSC and also a copy of RCW 36.16070.
Okay. The other thing that he says in this letter that I heard from a few different people, and I raised off camera a few times, but maybe it needs to be discussed on camera because I feel like I'm the middleman. I keep getting asked about this, and then the discussion never happens on camera, is the statement that I also recommend the board initiate negotiations with the various labor unions to help us determine what labor options are available to us. And I've been pinged back and forth between elected officials and budget staff and Ramiro talking about, is this possible? Is this normal? Is this something that can be done, that should be done? Why and why not? Clearly, the elected officials need to hear if there's an argument that I can't articulate very well of why that can't be done or shouldn't be done, because I keep getting asked about it. And here it is in this letter.
Yeah, and my perspective on that, and I have touched base with, labor relations from human resources. It will be extremely unusual for the Board of County Commissioners to have all the labor unions around the table and start having a direct negotiation on any type of items related to their contracts. I'm not saying that you don't have the authority. You can, as a Board of County Commissioners, you can exercise your authority to meet with whomever you think is appropriate. But my recommendation will be against that option. You have the authority to provide, from your point of view, what will be the best way to do to implement whether it's furloughs or layoffs, and then you have a staff as to how they negotiate the impacts through a bargaining sessions with each individual union. Because it will be extremely complicated, and this is just my perspective, to have every single union around the table because contracts are different. And the expectations of every single bargaining unit are different. And that will not be a fruitful, for me, a fruitful exercise for the board to have direct negotiations with those bargaining units. You have a staff and you have labor relations that actually manages the impacts of the decision that you make related to labor.
I just had one more comment, and I apologize. I'm going to be jumping off the meeting somewhat early. I fully support more flexibility for the department, so I support Ramiro's concept. I commented when we were doing the freeze that looking at the list, I remember making the comment that prosecutor in court was getting hit disproportionately. Robin talked about how there's kind of a random element to a freeze, just who has the, and in this case, John's pointing out that it's not that random. He was actually trying to manage that in a particular way. And I made note of that, and I saw that, and I knew that that's why we had our process for departments coming forward and making a case. But this kind of mitigation, if you want to call it that, tool makes sense to me, and I support more flexibility for the departments to meet their targets.
And I'll just follow up on that before I go to Commissioner Edwards, and that is, I also want to validate the prosecutor's approach to this and what he's been doing. And I said, as I said, he brought some thoughtful discussion and argument in his letter. And regarding the labor union and represented groups, this does not negate or minimize their input and the impact to them. It's just a different trigger, rather than, in my mind, and rather than the commission engaging them, whatever decisions we make, because we don't have 3, 6, 8 months to negotiate this stuff, and it's not our bailiwick to do that. That's totally HR and their staff. But the trigger would be a decisions made, and then boom, there's the trigger, and then negotiation begins, and it's outside of the boardroom and negotiated that way. And each one is very unique to itself with the membership and their demands, and I don't mean that in a negative way, demands, but their needs being addressed as well. And I validate that, but I just think it's the mechanism. I choose to go a different route for the mechanism to start that off. Commissioner Edwards, do you have any comments, sir, or questions?
Nope, ready to get going.
Okay. So what's next, Robert?
So this is just the proposal that I had for you today. If I have concurrence from the board, direction from the board, and again, and allowing offices and departments to come back with an alternate plan, so they can probably achieve the same level of budget reductions and yet being able to justify saving or keeping some of the positions they deem critical to their business.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I would like, one thing I would like though, as we move forward, I take it we're gonna get into this in a little bit when we talk about vacant positions as of April of 2020. In the past, we've had 2 different sheets. One is for general fund and one is for all other. And then we've had a column on there for the status, which would say if it was a new position or not. Now, I know we have vacant since, so I guess I can assume some of those are new, but in other sheets that we were given, there was a column in there that showed if it was a new position, and I don't see that in here. I'm just wondering how come we're lumping everything together? Some of the format has changed.
So on the first page,
Yeah,
it's all general fund,
okay,
okay? On the next 2 pages, it is all the other funds.
okay. It just doesn't say that. On the headings on before, it didn't, they actually said
It
that.
has the heading on page 2, but the heading is not copied on page 3.
Okay.
Page 3 is a continuation of page 2.
They're just a little different than other forms we were, the format isn't laid out the same.
Yeah,
So
but is any information, additional information? do you
it's
need?
still there though.
Yeah, certainly we can provide that
Okay.
to you, Commissioner.
I'm curious about new positions and besides the positions that have not been filled yet, but which ones are definitely new positions?
I believe
We
this list up to
can
date, right?
certainly identify that. New as of what date, Commissioner?
New as in created maybe and it's never been filled. There was a list, a prior list that was given out and it had a
Never
column
filled.
for new.
Can certainly identify those that have never been filled.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thank you for offering that differentiation. I catch it now. All right. So next,
That's really all I had for you today.
That's it for this morning.
Really is just to walk you through John's letter that was sent a couple of days ago, I believe, and you got a copy. Make sure that you did. And again, I wanted to give you perspective on related to the MRSC analysis related to the authority of the board. And that is not my analysis. I'm not here to provide you any legal perspective, just give you context of what I perceive to be your authority. And the last item, which you concurred, was to create a little more flexibility for the offices and departments to provide you with an alternate plan to achieve the same objective of the salary reductions.
Jump, guys. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
go ahead, Ty.
Kick it.
Okay, who's on?
You're on, Gary.
You're on first.
Okay, I beat him to the button. As we move forward, I suppose most of the offices are going to have a scenario that develops very much like what we're talking about with the prosecutor's office, I would guess. So are we gonna lump some of those individual presentations together, have you got a schedule laid out about when this might be taking place? We'll get this in front of us.
So what I suggest at this point is maybe Robin to send a supplement email related to this, and maybe they can provide the plan at the same time that we asking for the 2% budget reduction, which is June 12th. So after June 12th, we'll bring back to the board so you can have a comprehensive overview of their proposals, including those positions. So until then, did I answer
Well,
the question?
that is my question, but what I'm wondering is if we lump it all in together with the 2% reduction, by the time we're done hashing that out, we're gonna be down to a 1% reduction, or whatever the end result is. So I'm concerned
No, my proposal is not. My proposal
that
is.
it stay the same,
is
that the
is
2% stay the
Aside
same.
from the 2%.
Right, aside from the 2%.
Yeah, so that
Right.
2% continues to be part of your request.
And I'm just, is that adequate time for us to make the proper budgetary decisions as time goes on? Because that's 2 weeks from now.
Commissioner, you've already made the budget decision.
Yes, but as far as making exceptions to these, because it's gonna make some effect to the overall.
But going back, I believe by having given until June 12th, because some of the comments also from previous letter from Prosecutor John Thunheim was we didn't give enough time to provide with those reductions.
Okay,
So given until June 12th, I think I believe is enough time for the offices and departments to come up with the 2% and any alternate plan to reduce their budget related to their hiring freeze.
okay, makes sense.
And when it comes to June 12th, soon after, we'll schedule a board briefing so you can see their proposals, including any alternate proposals. And those will be implemented on July 1st. And that is the intent of it. So I think we
Okay,
have.
good, got a good time schedule, thank you.
That it?
That's all I have for you today, commissioners.
Well, at 5 this morning, when I was looking at the calendar for the day, and I saw budget 1 hour, I thought, there's no way, that's laughable. We've done it in fewer than 30 minutes, this piece. So, Robin, for you and your entire team, thank you very much. Romero, thank you very much, and I like the idea. And now we'll be off and running again with the electives and give them some options and work to do.
Okay, so, and again, I'll work with Robin to send an amendment to that email she sent outlining this next decision. Robin?
So I would just say that this is not a tool only for the electeds, but also for your appointed directors.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, then, if there's no other, I don't see any hands going up, then this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much.